Welcome to the Scottish CEO Show. I am going to take it right back to where it all began. As I said, I sit here at 26 years old, a successful CEO of two fantastic companies, but many moons ago, I was once just a wee guy from Cambuslang. So the person I have decided to kick us off as our first guest is none other than my lovely mum, headache, nuisance in my life, but welcome to my mum. Hello, how are we?
I'm fine, Reese. How are you?
I mean, listen, I've done many jobs in my life, but sitting with you is quite an interesting one. I'm honestly
Definitely.
hoping that we... There's one thing I'm going to say is just remember not to swear, Deborah.
I promise.
Oh, well, there you go. She's promised. So what we're going to do is we are going to take it right back to the very beginning. So tell me this, for anyone that's watching, for anyone that's listening, I always say that my sole mission is to educate and inspire and teach Scottish people that, listen, if you put yourself out there, great things will happen. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And when would you say, for me, that you saw that drive or that passion for just putting yourself out there?
Oh, a very, very, very early age. Very early. You were always wanted to do everything you put your mind into. You done 100%. You started off even in primary school. You were the main man in the activity. You were Joseph. You were this wee boy.
I maybe think that that's quite interesting because people listening to this might think that, you know, owning a business and now obviously my job spans across TV and that's two very different roles. But
Yep.
I think what I want you to think about is at what point did you think, God, he's probably not going to last working for somebody else and needs to work for himself?
When you were in the club,
Okay, so for anyone watching this or listening, my glory days, as I call it, the best days of my life, I started working at a nightclub when I was 18 and ended up being the manager and ran the club for basically the best part of 5 years. But I actually started when I was 17 as a PR, punting tickets in Royal Exchange Square, and kind of slowly worked my way up to be the marketing manager and then assistant to run the club. So what about the club for you? Did you see in me that you maybe thought, God, he's probably not going to work for anyone else?
you were a hard worker. I mean, you were leaving early in the morning. You were going to uni. You were going to your club, doing your work hard, leaving there, going to a library, and I was phoning you during the night and saying, where are you?
I know.
As I said, the library's not open. But as the years come
Disclaimer,
on...
I mean, sometimes I wouldn't have been in the library. I'd probably
Aye,
still be
probably.
in the club having a good night out.
saying that to me anyway, but I knew you learnt so much in there. You became a man in there.
I think for anybody that is probably listening and thinking, you know, when is the right time to make the jump? And I think I was very fortunate. I had an opportunity at Light, which is now called Rumour, that's
Definitely.
maybe about to change life. It was basically like The Apprentice,
Yep.
but in real life, because Martin Conlon, who owned it, and, you know, Jerry Carlisle and Jim Conlon, all the guys that owned the club, didn't live in the same country
No.
as me. So
And
basically what I was left to do was almost fend for myself. I was given a set of keys and I was given a WhatsApp number that I would phone if there was any problems. And I think it's important to bring that up of like taking the risk and taking the challenge early on. Like I started in that job at 18, but I think that could come across in any sort of walk of life. And even now in my team, what I try and teach as early on is I would rather see them run than baby step them all the way along, because there's no point in me mollycodding any of my staff. Like, you know, you're going to fuck up. We all fuck up. But at the end of the day, it's how you respond to that. And like I always say that even like someone like Taylor Gebby, right? Like, you know, Taylor Gebby is not even 18 yet, and she will be the CEO of my business
Definitely,
in 10 years because
she's just you.
But also, what do you think, like, we're talking about characteristics here, so what do you think of, like, you know, if any mother is watching this and they think, God, you know, how many arguments did we have over the years because it was my way or the highway?
Definitely, it had to be your way or no way. But you were my friend, not just my son. We were best friends.
When you weren't shouting.
Aye, but you shout as well.
But, so let's talk about that, right? Because anyone that's listening to this, I want them to think, there might be a parent, there might be a mum, an auntie out there that goes, God, like, let's just be real here of like, I was not an easy child to bring up.
Oh my God, you were.
A problem child. Simple as that. Like,
You were a troublemaker. A pure troublemaker.
A terror, I think, is the word that I used to get
I'm afraid to say the words here. I don't know what I'm
don't
trying
you worry
to
about that. So, like, let's just talk about, like, being young and being a child. Like, I remember you used to always say everybody would warn. Like, if I was going to anybody's house, I love to touch things. I love to break things. Yep. I love to smash things up or have arguments with people. And I'm like, now I am very calm, very collective. But, like, as a child, I was an absolute terror.
Oh, my God. I hated even going to the shops with you. It was... Just, you were into everything, you touched everything, and it was the faces you made at people. And
do you think those faces are still coming across?
Definitely.
So let's just put that out there and let's just wrap that one up, because I think it's important to say that, like, school, all of these things isn't for everyone. I did enjoy school. I was very good at school. I was very blessed. I was very academic. But ultimately, I speak to a lot of parents that'll be like, they are a terror. And I'm like, you need to allow them to grow up, fend for themselves. And I always think, like, being strong-minded, as I would say, makes for a great future CEO.
But you were a loving terror.
I wasn't nasty, but, I just like to wind people up. I still like to wind people up.
You were funny. You were so funny. You were unique. You were a one-off. It's hard to explain. People might just say, I'm saying this because you're my son.
No, but I think it's important to say that,
for all my life, people said to me, that boy will go places, that boy will go places. For a young age, it doesn't matter where you went, you had to be the centre of attention. I had to be a bit Reese.
But then I think, like, let's put that into context as well, because a lot of students that I work with, right, parents will come in and they will break down to me and go, I hate my own child. And I go, see, to be honest, I think at some point I would have hated me if I was bringing me up, but you need to think about, like, okay, let's look at that then, and let's look at how that progresses. So I was a bit of a, I like to get myself in a little bit of trouble as a child. I think I was barred from most of the local shops for winding up,
and barred from every family's house. So me being me, I was barred as well, because if he's not allowed in, well, I'm not going then.
But this is the thing that we're talking about here. It's like, let's get real, right? And let's talk about, there is no recipe, there is no right path to becoming an entrepreneur. There is no right path to becoming a CEO. But I think that's one thing I wanted to talk about, is wrapping up those earlier years. I was by no means sat behind the books. I was by no means, a class A student. I absolutely wound people up to the peak of them going, I can't stand that little boy. But ultimately, I think where that comparison comes into is now, I think I've developed great people skills in that process.
Definitely.
So if we could just wrap that up, so let's just sum up, like, early on, if you're listening or if you have a child, what would you say, early on, when was the first time you thought, God, he is probably going to own many businesses?
I've seen it so many times throughout the years, so many. I knew deep down you were going to be something. I really did. I knew, I didn't know if it was going to be a business. I didn't know if it was going to be on the television, but I knew deep down you were going to be something. You loved school. You loved everything about it. You put your heart and soul into it. You went.
Do you think it comes down to what? Hard work? Do you think it comes down to work ethic?
No.
What do you think it comes down to?
You are the most hard-working guy I have ever came across in my life.
And I think that might be important for those that are listening or watching, and, like, so many people probably see, and we've got fantastic guests lined up that people look outside and they think, wow, you've got this picturesque life. You go on a nice holiday. No. You spend Christmas in Dubai. But ultimately what it comes down to is, you'll know this more than anyone, is how many hours do me and my friends around me that have successful businesses work?
24 hours a day.
So that's what it comes down to.
Reese leaves the house at 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes he's still phoning me, driving back from Edinburgh at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's been out the full day. He goes in, don't know how he does it, but he sleeps.
Oh, I'm a sleeper.
10 minutes.
I think that you find that, though, most people that own a business, like, have a great relationship with sleep, or, like, even every one of my candidates on the show, we talk about this all the time, but, like, you need to get, whether it's 3 or 4 hours, but I sleep like a baby. I'm not a disturbed sleeper. I know, but then I think it's because you work so much during the day. So let's just talk about a few other things. So if you were to describe me as a child in 3 words, what would it be?
Oh my God, don't put me on the spot.
what would it be? 3 words. So if you were to sum, me up from like 4 to say 14 in 3 words, what would it be?
Funny, cheeky,
Take that one.
different.
Great.
Very different.